If you have a great photo of your puppies, but the grass is a little dull and lifeless, we can fix that in Photoshop. You're going to grab your lasso tool and select a section of the grass, does not have to be the whole thing. You're going to come over to a brightness and contrast panel. Now, you want to start by pulling up the contrast. You can see there's a very distinct line right there, but we don't want it to be too terribly green. So we're actually going to move the brightness down. Now, depending on what grass you're working with, you may need to move it up, but for most grass, you're going to be moving this down at least a little bit to keep it more realistic and make it pop a bit more in your image. Now you're going to grab your brush, make sure it's on 100% opacity and white, and you want a soft round brush, not a hard round brush, and you're just going to paint it on around your dogs. And it doesn't have to be the entire section. If you do the entire thing, it might look a little bit neon, a little bit like you put an Instagram filter on it. We don't want that. So we're going to leave part of it in that more dull color, and you can just tap onto certain areas. If something is a little bit too much, use your X key to toggle that back from black to white or from white to black. You're going to lower your opacity, and you're just going to tap it off on black on certain areas. So if something is a little too much, you can take it away. If something needs a little bit more, you can add it back in. If there's a section you need to go over even more, just lasso that and do the same thing with the brightness and contrast panel, adding in just a little more contrast and bringing down the darkness just a little bit. And then, of course, you're going to fill back in so you don't have that harsh line there. So you can kind of see how that makes it pop just a little bit more, but you can also do this to the trees. Now, it might work on the same layer as the grass, but in a lot of cases, you're going to want to come in and you're going to want to use your lasso tool to grab the trees, and you're going to then just bump the contrast up. If you need to, you can adjust your brightness as well. And that actually darkened that down quite a bit. So I may want to come back in and lighten this up by going to a higher brightness level to make those flowers stand out. So then I'm going to paint that back in there. From there, we want to make sure our sky matches. So again, we're going to be lassoing this, and we're going to pull up our brightness and contrast. We're going to pull up the contrast and down the brightness just a touch, and then fill in those lines so that it is going to make your image pop. Then from there, you're going to grab one more brightness and contrast panel. You're going to add in just a little bit of contrast and a little bit of brightness to make the entire thing pop and look like a cohesive image. Follow for more dog photo editing tips.